Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You are tuned in with Cindy and John, and today we are going to be sharing some house hunting tips. So for those of you who don't know, we've been looking for a new house, and do you want to tell them?
We found one.
We found a house, so we're super excited. We've been doing so many house things lately, just like trying to figure out what we want to do and all these things. Yeah, what would you qualify it as?
The house things. Yeah.
The house stuff.
House
so
things.
There's a lot that goes into buying a house, you guys. I personally did not know this because I never bought one. John has. So we have some tips today for buying a house, your first house, maybe buying a house with your spouse. Or we have some tips for you if you guys need that.
Or maybe you're just bored and want to
you just want to see what we did to buy a house. So
maybe you missed Dr. Seuss, so you wanted to hear about Cindy buying a house with a spouse.
Okay, jokes. He's got jokes. Anyways, so if you guys like this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more in the future. So John, what is your first tip for somebody who might be wanting to buy a house right now?
So it depends on when you're watching this. If you're watching this close to now, then it's not really house hunting, it's house fishing.
Yes.
Because it used to be back in the day when you went out, you looked at houses, you found a house you wanted, you put in an offer on it, and you would probably get it.
Probably.
These days.
Maybe even under offer.
Yes. Yeah, underpriced.
Or under.
Under list.
Yeah.
These days, multiple offers are common in most locations, which means that you aren't house hunting, you're house fishing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of online dating from a dude's perspective with houses.
Yeah. So if you guys like a house, just be prepared to not get that house. That is something we had to come to terms with, especially me, because he's not a person who gets as emotionally involved with stuff. So for me,
aside from my wife,
well, yes, other than me, he loves me.
With you.
But no, if you guys are like super attached to a house, you might not get it, and that's gonna be really frustrating and annoying in the process. So I just recommend, if you see a house you like, put an offer in, don't get attached, and if you get it, great. If you don't, moving on, because first of all, there's so many different ones, and second of all, it just might not happen.
So the first tip is manage expectations, because the disappointment, the emotions, the frustration happens with unmet expectations. If you start with the expectation that you're not house hunting, you're house fishing, and you're going to put out multiple offers and they're probably not going to get accepted, then that's going to help you not be so frustrated. And also, if you fixate on a single house, that's going to make you want to offer way too much for that house, way more than it's actually worth. And that's not a smart financial decision. So you need to decide, how much you're willing to offer over, and don't go over that. Even when the real estate agent calls you and says, is this your best and final offer? You need to be comfortable with saying, yep, that's it.
We had a house that I really liked, and we put an offer in, we didn't get it. And I was very much tempted to be like, let's just put some more on. And John's like, let's move on. And we've actually found a house that was even better. So the house that we have now, or we're going to have soon, is better. So just be patient. And I think that goes into the next tip, which is have a reasonable budget.
Your budget is, we're going to pick a number, $450. Don't go look at houses that are $450 right now. Yeah. Because they're not going under list right now. They're going over list in most markets. So if your budget's $450 and you look at a house that's $450, you're going to have to offer more than that, and you just blew your budget.
Yeah, at least some houses are going over $40,000, $50,000 right now. It's ridiculous. There's some that's even more than that.
Well, there's some that's even more than that. In general, right now, it seems like houses are going over list 1 to 10% of the purchase price. So the more expensive the house is, the bigger that gap is. Know what your actual budget is and stick to it. Yeah. And that means you need to start looking at houses that are below your budget so that you have room to step up.
That's something we had to do, is we had a budget and it was a good price, but then we made sure at houses that were not even that close to it, because we knew we were going to have to put so much more just to reach that. So
be financially prepared to buy a house. And that means, especially in this market, the more you have to put down, the more it helps. So save, so that you have a war chest. You're trying to buy a house, and in today's market, in 2022, a lot of houses are going over list. And so what they are looking for, people are looking for in their offers, is not just a price that's over list, okay? Because if the house doesn't appraise for that, then they only get what it appraises for. Yeah. And so people are looking for what's called an appraisal gap, which is a guarantee in the contract that says you will pay up to X amount of dollars over the appraisal. Now, the appraisal is what the house is worth according to an appraiser, right? Because what is a house worth? Whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. The appraiser will look at several similar houses and come up with a value of this. This is what I think this house is worth and would sell for today. You will probably, in 2022, in most markets, you will probably be offering more than what the house is worth, according to the appraiser. And so that appraisal gap, the difference between what it appraises for and what you offer, if you're not offering to bring that money in cash, your offer is a lot less interesting to a seller.
I know. Ideally, if you have just cash to throw for the whole house, like somebody's gonna take that probably. It's not common.
That's a better place to be because that guarantees them you have the money.
I think the biggest thing is have more cash. That's essentially what we're trying to say here. Is like the more cash you have, the easier, the more options, and the easier this whole thing will be. So that's something I think will make a huge difference if you're looking for a house.
There are several types of loan that you could get, for example. So FHA, VA, and conventional. With a VA inspector has to come out and look at the house, and they tend to be more stringent than some of the other types, which means that inspector can mess up the deal. What that tends to do is make buyers less interested in a VA loan. And so some houses will even list that they aren't interested in VA loans and won't sell to someone who's getting that kind of financing. Another type of financing is FHA. Again, FHA is supposed to help somebody who might not have as much money to put down to get into a loan and get into their first house or get into a house. And it's intended to help the person, but there's more inspections that come with it, and the inspector can mess up the deal, which means now, unfortunately, the seller's going to look at those loan types versus a conventional and recognize that it could mess up the deal, and they could go through all this and lose time, and that hurts them. So if they're looking at an FHA versus a conventional, which one are they going to take? Do a conventional, if at all possible. Do a 15-year. If you look at the interest rates for a 30-year, the interest rates are higher and you pay it for longer. A lot more of your money goes to the bank than into the house. We don't want that. We're in the game of trying to own a house and try to spend our money and get it to come back to us, where we have that in the value and not just pay it in interest.
Be cognizant of which loan you're trying to take out. I think that makes a big difference as well. Another tip I think we should talk about is just if you're buying a house with some spouse, work together is really important, just because there's some stuff in houses that I really wanted and there's some stuff that John really wanted. And it was really hard to find all of that in one house. And to be honest, we both had to sacrifice some stuff just to get right now what we needed and what we wanted. So just be open to sacrifice, be open to, just working together, and you're going to get some stuff you want. You're not going to get everything you want, at least for your first house. And that's kind of what I think we had to work through and continue to work through. But yeah.
First part of that tip, do not buy a house with somebody unless you're married to them, because it forms a business partnership. And how is that business partnership going to be dissolved if anything happens? Whereas in a marriage, there's a process for that, right? So that's the first thing. I know some guys in the military that bought a house with a buddy and later regretted it.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy your own house and then maybe have a roommate to supplement
they can cost. They can rent from you, but don't buy it together. And I had that situation where I bought a house and a friend rented from me. Originally, we had talked about doing it together and decided against it. And very glad that we did. I don't know if we'd be friends today if we had done it that way. Yeah. So only buy a house with someone that you are married to. And then, like Cindy was saying, list out your need to haves and your nice to haves, and make sure that your need to have list is as small as possible.
Yes.
Okay. Especially when you have limited options, you need to focus on, okay, what absolutely is the need, and then understand, a range. So for example, how important is drive time to you?
Oh yeah, that was huge for me personally.
So if that's big to you, then you need to say, okay, well, 15 minutes is good.
Yeah.
20 minutes is a maybe if it's this good, if it's an amazing house.
Yeah.
25 minutes is, I guess I could do it if it's incredible. And 45 minutes is absolutely no. I don't care how wonderful a deal it is. It's not going to happen.
Just be aware of that, because down the line, you don't want to be irritated every day after you buy your house. Like, oh, I wish I just didn't do this, and every day you're annoyed because this is an investment. This is something you want to be happy with long term. I mean, we're not going to be in this house forever. This is not our forever house, but at the same time, we wanted to make sure it was comfortable, and things that we really wanted right now were important. We had. So that's what we focused on, and like I said, there are certain things I wanted. That you guys are going to see this house tour eventually, and there's certain things John wanted.
Should we tell him
about the houses?
What you wanted?
Well, yeah, we can tell him.
Your stretch goal. She wanted a 2-story.
Yeah, this house is not a 2-story, but
and I wanted a 3-car garage.
Yeah, and so we didn't get either.
Either of those things.
But we did get a lot of space,
yes.
And we got it's a little bit of a fixer-upper, so we're going to show you guys along the process.
It's in good shape.
It's a really nice house. It's just not modern.
As modern. So there's some opportunity there, which is also something to think about. If you are handy, or you know people who are, if you get a house that maybe isn't the fleekiest, that gives you some opportunity to buy at a little lower price and then put in some sweat equity. But don't bite off more than you can chew.
Oh yeah, especially if you don't plan on being there for like ages. Like we don't plan on being here for like ever. So we're like, okay, we're going to do some stuff, but we're not going to do everything because we're going to buy another house eventually. So, or build one. Absolutely.
So be careful. Know how much you're willing to work on. Don't buy a disaster. Unless
some people like that though.
You're really excited about that. I think we
that.
saw an episode of that on
Fixer Upper.
Yeah, it's the new version of Fixer Upper.
Oh, Fixer Upper.
Oh, you didn't see that episode. Anyway, whatever it is, the new version. I saw this one house that was a total disaster. Cindy didn't watch that, which is probably good. It was, anyway.
But you don't want that. I mean, some people do somehow.
You might, but don't do that if you don't have somewhere else to live. You get it to a certain level.
Yes. Because right now, and that's another thing we should probably say, is that right now we have an overlap between where we're living now and the house we're about to buy to give us some time. So if you guys are in the process of buying a house, make sure to give yourself like a month maybe if you can.
It depends on how far you're moving, what you need to do to the house. But if you can at all, have some overlap between, moving one place to another.
Yes, it'll make it so much easier. Especially me right now with all my travel going on. It just makes it easier.
And that's another thing. When you are looking to buy a house, don't be in a situation where you are desperate to buy a house. Because you are going to settle for something that you're going to regret later. Okay? Yeah. So find a place you can rent or someone you can stay with. Or whatever it is temporarily where you can just look for a house and have your time and not have to jump into it. Yeah. We rented a place. We worked out a deal with the landlady where, if we did a 6-month, only a 6-month, we would pay her a little extra. Yeah. But it worked out. That's one of the things. When you're working with an individual, not a corporation, there's a little bit more room for negotiation, right? And so she came up with a very, very fair deal. Cindy negotiated it with her. And that gave us a situation where if we needed to stay here for a year, we'd stay here for a year. But if we were only here 6 months, we would pay the landlady a little extra because it cost her a little extra to get somebody in the house. That's fair, no problem. But it gave us flexibility, and that's super important that you're not in a hurry to go buy a house.
It's okay to take your time. But at the same time, kind of go back to what we said earlier, like, you don't have to, you might not get everything you want in a house, like, especially if you're buying. I think when you build, you have a little bit more, leverage with that. But sometimes you're not going to get every single thing you want. So you don't need to take years to decide if you want a house, because clearly those houses are just not going to stay on the market that long for you to decide. But at the same time, don't be in a rush. So I guess finding that balance is important. So
use the internet to your advantage. Oh, yeah. Get on Google Earth. Look at overheads. Look at the house. Look at the neighborhoods. Look at Street View. Check distances between that place and other key locations like your work or grocery store that's really important to you or a doctor's office, whatever it is for you that's really important that you need to go to on a regular basis. Know when you find the house how far all those things are before you go see it. Yes,
and also check to see the neighborhood's a good neighborhood. I know it's something that people forget and neglect, but just remember, some neighborhoods might not be good, so if you can do your research on that to know, okay, where am I going to be staying? Because you might have a beautiful house somewhere, but maybe the neighborhood's just crap. Let's be honest.
Yeah, get there, and it's difficult for some people if you're buying remote. I would really encourage you
to see it.
Move there.
Yes.
Rent, if at all possible, and drive around and see the neighborhoods, see the areas, and see what vibes you like.
Yes.
That makes a huge difference. So feet on the ground and as much time as you can spend kind of in the areas, kind of getting a feel for what's where and what kind of places you want to be in. and what works for you and your family.
Yes, absolutely. We have a lot more stuff, so we're gonna have some footage for you guys, house videos, and if you guys like it, make sure to comment below what kinds of things you might want to see or other questions you might have from the both of us. And yeah, we both will see you in the next video. Bye. Is your stomach still in it?
What?
I feel like
What do you think this is? I'm gonna get them synced for everything. A little bit here.
Do I look dark to you, or you think I look fine?
Oh, you look so fine, man.
Like here.
Oh.
I feel like this is too much. Should I move over? Or should I move the whole thing? Like move this thing? Everything else gonna die soon, so we should probably stop.
Right?